When we look at the autonomic nervous system, I'm going to be explaining this in more of the traditional view that we used to see the autonomic nervous system, and then I'm going to be bringing in polyvagal theory to deepen our understanding of how this system works and how stress and trauma can impact this system. So in its simplest terms, when we think about the autonomic nervous system, I like to think about our mind and our body as like a car. It's a vehicle for better or worse, till death do we part. It's carrying us through the world. And so just like a car, we have a gas pedal and we have a brake pedal. And so the gas pedal is our sympathetic nervous system. This is that fight flight mode. This is when our heart and our blood pressure begins to increase. Our breathing accelerates, so our breath tends to get fast and shallow, often in the upper regions of our lungs. And we get this big release of adrenaline and cortisol in our system. And when there's a threat, by all means, that is the pedal that we want to be pressing on. But very often, we're pressing on that gas pedal way after the threat is over or the perceived threat that didn't turn into an actualized threat happened. And so if we don't know what pedal we're pressing on, we don't really know what we need. So those are some signals that you would notice in your body that would help to indicate, I'm in this sympathetic state, I'm pressing on the gas pedal. Our parasympathetic nervous system is the brake pedal. This is our rest and digest mode. So if you've ever gotten a massage or been to a yoga class, your stomach starts to gurgle, you're yawning. These are signals that we're starting to move into that rest and digest mode. This is also, there's a branch of this that is the freeze mode, which I'll talk about in a moment when we start to bring in polyvagal theory. What you'll notice in your body if you're pressing on the brake is our heartbeat's going to start to slow down. Our blood pressure is going to reduce, our respiration levels are going to regulate, so our breath becomes more steady and deep. And so again, knowing what pedal we're pressing on is the key to knowing what we actually need in that moment. And when we bring in polyvagal theory and looking at the parasympathetic nervous system, so the parasympathetic nervous system actually has two branches. That rest and digest mode has two branches. And so the vagus nerve, which is moving from the brainstem down our spine, and then it branches off at the diaphragm to go up and down. It has two different functions. So the dorsal vagus nerve, which is from the diaphragm downward, this evolved first. This is our older part of the system. And this is what controls like our organs, like our intestines, our digestion, and it regulates that freeze response. So that freeze, withdrawing, collapsing, dissociating, that's more of that dorsal vagus nerve response. It's a very old system. The other branch of this parasympathetic nervous system is called our ventral vagus nerve. And this evolved in response to our need for social interaction. So when we were existing in building communities and we needed to know, our survival depended on our ability to know who was a threat and who was safe enough. And so this system is from our diaphragm upward. So it connects with the muscles of our face, with our inner ear. It controls systems like our bronchi, our larynx, our heart. It influences our heart rate and our breathing. And so this integrates with the facial nerves to form our social engagement system. This part of our vagus nerve, I think about this as like our radar system. And so right now, without you having to tell it anything, it is listening to my vocal tones, it's reading my facial expressions and my body gestures to indicate, is this person safe or unsafe? And the nerves of this part of the vagus nerve is myelinated. So there's a fatty sheath that's within the nerve, along the fibers of the nerve, and this helps to provide this faster response time. It's our ability to socially communicate, to self-soothe, and to calm. And so I try to emphasize that piece because I think sometimes we can feel like our nervous system or body is hijacked, that it's working against us, but actually the evolution of the vagus nerve is to work for us, to support us in being able to more quickly self-soothe, calm ourselves, and engage and connect with people who are safe to engage and connect with. The last peak I'll speak about this is how this nerve evolved over time. And so I'll go from the bottom upward, which is how it is held in our body as well. So that diaphragm downward is the oldest part of the vagus nerve. It's 500 million years old. and it is our immobilization response. This is where we go when we feel like we can't escape, when we're trapped, our last resort, right? Some people tend to refer to this as like playing possum, right? So when we start to go down this ladder into this withdrawing, checking out, immobilized, or collapsing, passing out, depending on how high the stress or threat is. So from that evolution came our sympathetic nervous system. That's the gas pedal that I was speaking about. This is 400 million years old. It's our mobilization response. So it's basically helping us to either take action, to engage what's happening, to engage the threat, or to run away, to avoid or flee from the threat. This system also helps us move out of freeze. And so you can see in the ladder model that as we move up the ladder, right, it helps us to give us enough mobilization, enough energy to move out of freeze. And then ideally, if we have enough cues of safety in our environment and ability to self-soothe, we can move up into that ventral part of the vagus nerve where we can socially engage and co-regulate. So that ventral vagus, which is the ventral means front side, this is 200 million years old, so it came last. This is unique to mammals, and this is about our capacity to co-regulate. So our social engagement system, and some people call it the face-heart connection. So it's sending that information of engaging with somebody, co-regulating, and self-soothing. So this system overall, understanding how this nervous system, our autonomic nervous system, operates, in the same way of wondering, what pedal am I pressing on? We can start to ask, where am I on my ladder, right? Is this where I need to be? And knowing what are the tools that help us move out of these states towards that ventral state of the vagus nerve to be able to self-soothe and co-regulate with others. So really helping us to figure out how we move through the world with more ease and how we support ourselves and others to do the same.